this is the fight guy, and you can call me the fight goy after this card, UFC 326, because I had the worst predictions I've ever had on this card. But we'll get into it. That's not what made this card so bad. This card was very boring. The first fight to open up the early prelims was one of the most entertaining fights on the entire card up until the main card. The prelims were really bad. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to get into my reasons, my reactions for every single fight on UFC 326, and what made it a bad card. We did get the UFC White House Freedom 250 fight card announcement, which was underwhelming. First, we're going to break down this first fight on the early prelims. Luke Fernandez took on Rodolfo Bellato in a fight where Bellato won. Not a lot of people believed in him. I didn't believe in him. He has negative aura. Still has zero aura after this win. I think he's going to need a couple more knockouts to really wash away the memory of the Paul Craig performance, the Academy Award-winning performance, you can call it. But Luke Fernandez looked good this fight until he didn't. He was landing the better shots. He was in control on the feet. Had Bellato reacting a lot. But he kept ducking his head. He kept going for a level change, like a takedown attempt almost, just like a feint, if you will, to get Bellato to react. And Bellato kept throwing the uppercuts. He threw like 2 or 3 uppercuts before one really connected, ultimately dropping Fernandez, giving Bellato a much-needed comeback win after getting beat down by, I think, Navajo Sterling. So great win for Bellato. Doesn't make up for his resume in my books, but Luke Fernandez... He had it until he didn't, which what can you do for that one? So got that one wrong. We'll move on to the next fight. Rafael Tobias took on Dayar Nurgozhay in a fight where Tobias very much should have won this fight. You could see he was only 2 for 8 on takedowns. I thought Tobias would wrestle. I thought he could do everything. He landed some good shots on the feet, but Dayar was definitely leading the dance on the feet, which Tobias started to mix in the takedowns, but not well. They were very terrible takedown attempts. He expended a lot of energy where he shouldn't have. He should have just timed them better, and I thought this was a very winnable fight for Tobias. Instead, it was a very boring watch for Dayar, who just kind of jabbed his way to victory here. No knockdowns in this light heavyweight fight. Just a typical 30-27 victory for Dayar. This was a classic grappler versus striker. Like Tobias, don't get me wrong, he could do everything. He could strike, but he did not. Look, two and a half minutes of control time, and you're supposed to be the grappler. He had 1 sub attempt. It wasn't that serious. This was a very bad performance for Tobias. A prospect a lot of people were excited about, including myself. Now, he is only 22 years old, so plenty of time to develop, but look, I was 0-2 on picks so far. The first fight, I don't mind getting that one wrong. Luke Fernandez was doing well. He gets knocked out. But how could I pick Tobias to wrestle and he doesn't wrestle at all? That was just great win for Dayar. I still don't think he's a great prospect. I think he can get checked in his grappling by half the division. We'll move on to a fight. In the last fight on the early prelims, Sumudaerji took on Jesus Aguilar, which my genius ass picked the very small guy who was outgunned everywhere this fight, Jesus Aguilar, to win. Jesus, this was the most just one-sided beatdown. Sumudaerji was throwing these kicks, ripping the body. That was really the story, the kicks this fight from Sumudaerji. He was having his way. He had a 10-inch reach advantage. He was landing strikes all throughout on the feet, shutting down most of Jesus' takedown attempts, reversing Jesus' takedown attempts into judo throws, landing in top side control. I mean, Jesus had no weapons. He had no chance. He was outgunned everywhere this fight. He was throwing wild overhands and hooks. Like, after the first 30 seconds, I was very regrettably... I wish I would have picked Sumudaerji to win this fight. This was a very low IQ pick. I can't believe I picked Jesus. Believe me, I feel like a dumb casual for that, but I took a risk. He was a big underdog. I thought he was levels ahead in the grappling, but he was just so small. He could not do anything. He couldn't hold on to a single leg. He couldn't hold on to any control. I'm surprised he even had 2 minutes here. I think most of that was against the clinch. So, great win for Sumudaerji. I still don't think, he's that great of a flyweight prospect. Now, he's really big, but I think most of the guys can check his grappling in the top 15, absolutely. So, wasn't that impressed with this fight. It wasn't that entertaining, no knockdowns. There wasn't really any moments where the fight was about to be finished. Just like the Tobias fight, that fight didn't really feel like it was going to get finished, and it was a light heavyweight fight. So 2 fights in a row, very boring. We move on to another very boring fight. In the flyweight division, Cody Durden took on Nyan Jarbol Tugen. Cody Durden, look, his wrestling looked good. His wrestling looked good this fight. I thought he gave up a lot of positions where he shouldn't have, but a lot of people were critiquing Cody Durden's grappling a lot this fight, where I thought it was pretty balanced. You could see, Nyan Jarbol had a couple more minutes of control time, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, Cody Durden's just, I don't think he's built to be a UFC flyweight anymore. It hurts to say that. I like Cody Durden. I've trained with him. But Nyan Jarbol in his UFC debut, pretty much his UFC debut. I know he had like a road to UFC finals where he won, and I think a UFC fight after that. But this was like his UFC debut under his new contract, and he looked good against Cody Durden. So I'm not going to take anything away from him. He didn't really have a lot of threatening sub attempts. I think he had like an arm triangle at some point, but yeah, Cody Durden, he's like an average flyweight. I don't think he should be he's not ranked material at this point. He's won one fight in his last 5. He's had a really tough stretch. And he doesn't look that strong for flyweight, it's the smallest weight class, but he just looked outgunned. He ran out of cardio like in the second round. I think that's really what threw this one away for him. I thought I thought it was a 29-28. I'll say maybe Cody took the first round. I gave Cody the first round, I think, but that was another boring fight. I got that one wrong. I think I got every fight wrong so far. I was 0-4. Worst card I've had. We move on to the next fight. Ricky Turcios versus Alberto Montes. This was probably the easiest fight to call, maybe besides the Sumudaerji one so far in the prelims. Albert Montes looked fantastic. I don't know how Ricky even landed 36 strikes. I don't believe those numbers. Alberto looked great. He was slow on the feet in the first round, but in the second round, he was comfortable everywhere. He got his grappling going a little bit. I know it says he only had 21 seconds of control time, but he was just defending Ricky's takedown attempts. Ricky looked retarded this fight. Just like I said, he looked like a ugly stepson, which is exactly how he fought. He fought like an ugly fighter this fight. Alberto subbed him. It's his 3rd anaconda choke in a row. That's crazy. He also did the choke on all of his coaches in the post-fight before he got the mic. This is a dangerous guy in the featherweight division. This was one of the only highlights of the prelims, only highlights of the card up to this point. We're 5 fights in. There's only been 2 decent fights. And we move on to another fight, Dante Johnson versus Cody Brundage. This was another boring fight. Cody Brundage, his classic fetal position, sitting in the corner, looking like he's about to get finished half the fight, but does just enough for the ref to not stop it. Dante Johnson did not look great. I'm not going to buy a lot of stock in Dante Johnson. He's undefeated. This is his first decision win, I believe. 6 knockouts, 1 submission, 1 decision win. And I think he gets manhandled in the grappling by half the middleweight division. I wasn't that impressed with his striking at all. He leaves his chin wide open. His legs are locked. He's standing straight back in his stance. I know I picked him to win, but there were moments where Cody Brundage I thought was going to walk away with this fight, which is crazy on short notice, getting knocked out by Cam Roston in January, and now you're about to beat undefeated prospect Dante Johnson. I was not impressed with Dante Johnson. I can't say I wasn't impressed with Cody Brundage because he didn't get knocked out. I thought he was going to get knocked out, or what did I put? I had via knockout. I thought Cody Brundage was going to get knocked out, and he brought Dante Johnson to a decision. So this was a situation where even though Cody Brundage lost, I thought Cody Brundage looked better than I thought. On short notice, he wasn't in shape, he didn't have a fight camp, and he didn't get finished, and he had moments, he had more control time. Dante Johnson, he's not going to be a problem at middleweight. I'll say that. I may have had a terrible predictions card, which does not happen very often. This is the first time I went negative on predictions. Usually I pick more fights correctly than not, but this was a very difficult card to predict for me. And Dante Johnson looked like shit. We'll move on. This is a fight that I predicted correctly somehow, and Cody Garbrandt should have lost that fight. Look at the numbers here. Zhao Long had his way with Cody in the first and second round, in my opinion. Some people gave Cody Garbrandt the first round. I thought Zhao Long won all 3 rounds here, which, if that was the case, this should have been a, 28-27? This should have been a 28-27 win for Zhao Long. Zhao Long, even though he had 2 points deducted in the third round for kneeing Cody Garbrandt 3 or 4 fucking times, that was crazy. He just kept kneeing and kicking Cody Garbrandt in the nuts. It was one of the wildest things ever. But yeah, he literally gave Cody Garbrandt that victory. It was weird. It was very weird. Another boring fight that stretched on way longer than it was supposed to. I didn't have much to say for this fight. The only thing I put in my notes, if you remember, is if Cody loses this fight, please ship him to Iran. And Cody did not lose this fight. But I'm still asking you, Donald Trump, please ship Cody Garbrandt to Iran because we don't want to see that again. It was a terrible look for both fighters. Look, we are 7 fights in. We've been through all the prelims, and the only 2 finishes, the only 2 good fights was the Anaconda choke from Montes and the very first knockout from Bellato. Up to this point, even though I didn't do great on predictions, that's not why I'm not impressed with this card. It was just up to this point, it was just terrible. There weren't a lot of moments where the fights were about to be finished. You know, Cody Brundage does his fetal position thing, but I mean, this wasn't an exciting card. It was just kind of one-sided up to this point with some bullshit. We'll move on to the first fight on the main card. This is when shit started to pop off. I got this one wrong. I went with Bruno Ferreira via knockout. I was thinking RoboCop all week, and I'm like, man, RoboCop is just too chinny. He leaves his chin out there a lot, which he was doing in this fight. He left his chin out a lot, and you can see here, both fighters landed 1 punch to the head. Bruno Ferreira connected first. It wasn't enough. Rodrigues connected with a right hook the second time. The second punch to the head. First time for Rodrigues. That was all he needed. He put Bruno Ferreira out in the coldest knockout of the night so far. The coldest knockout of the night so far. Gregory Rodrigues, he's a problem at middleweight. He's still very dangerous. He's good everywhere. He's got knockout power in his hands. My concern with Rodrigues is I don't think he can go 1-for-1 with a lot of the guys in the division. I mean, you run this fight back, they should run a trilogy, by the way. They both have round 1 knockout wins over each other, so we're going to get a trilogy. He'll probably headline an Apex card later this year. Sorry to spoil it, but Rodrigues is still a little bit too chinny. Like, I don't think he can go 1-for-1 with a lot of guys. Sure, I got this fight wrong. I picked it to go. I bet it to go under 1.5. So, you know, I hedged it a little bit. I thought both guys, it was a coin toss, and I picked the wrong side of the coin. But look, you run this back. You know, RoboCop wins this maybe 5 times out of 10, maybe. I don't think he can go 1-for-1 with most of the guys in the division, including Bruno Ferreira. But I was wrong on this one. He got around Bruno Ferreira's guard, landed a right hook, dropping him instantly. Instantly. It was treacherous, man. So great win for RoboCop. Well-deserved bonus for him. And we move on to a lightweight banger. I was really looking forward to this fight. Drew Dober took on Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson looked really good in the first round, landing these treacherous leg kicks, getting Drew Dober to react really fast, really accurate, landing his combinations like I said he would. He throws a lot of volume. He threw a lot of volume in the first round. Creative boxing combinations. Black doesn't crack unless it's Drew Dober fighting you in the second round. That's exactly what happened. Drew Dober cracked Michael Johnson. You saw spit come out of his mouth, everything, the whole 9 yards. He was out before he hit the canvas. Great win for Drew Dober. An unnecessary follow-up shot on Michael Johnson's nose there, but, you know, you don't stop till the ref pulls you off. Drew Dober walks away from this one. I got this one wrong. Johnson was winning this fight. All the ones that I got wrong, I know the last fight was only a few seconds, but all the ones that I got wrong where my guy got knocked out, they were winning that fight before. Bruno Ferreira, it was a quick fight. It was over under 2 minutes, but Bruno Ferreira was leading. You know, he was flipping stances. It felt like he was comfortable. He was in control. Gets dropped. It happens. Same thing with the first fight. Bellato, Luke Fernandez, in control, landing the better shots. Gets dropped. It happens. Same thing with Michael Johnson, Drew Dober. He's in control, wins the first round, lands the better shots, faster, more volume, gets hit one shot. It's over. That was the story of this fight. It was fun, just like we all thought it was going to be, and we move on to the next fight on the main card, which was very much not fun, just like our main event, which we'll get to in a minute. The rest of the fights on the card all ended in decision. Rob Font versus Raul Rosas Jr. Rob Font had this low stance, low center of gravity, It was a little bit weird. It was almost like inviting a takedown because he was right over his legs, making it hard to sprawl. Not sure what the thought was behind that. Look, my thought in this fight was these New England cartel guys, they're hard to finish, they're hard to control. And that was not the case completely with this fight. Rob Font, very hard to finish, which we could talk about in a second with Raul Rosas Jr. and why I am not impressed with him this fight. But I went with Rob Font because I thought that if this went to decision, Rob Font stayed on the feet long enough to not get submitted and would land the better strikes. It went to decision, but Rob Font did not stay on the feet long enough and landed the better strikes. Raul Rosas Jr. did not land 47 strikes. You could see he landed 8 significant strikes in a Torres Finney performance. If you know, you know. But Rob Font just had this terrible rubber guard. I'll put a picture up. He was trying to do rubber guard by grabbing the top of his foot. Very hard to watch. That's how you break your foot or get your knee to pop. Very terrible jiu-jitsu form from Rob Font. Instead of doing rubber guard against a very good jiu-jitsu guy like Raul Rosas Jr., he's kind of like an Oliveira, like in the terms of his striking is not developed yet, but his jiu-jitsu game is very solidified. Rob Font wasn't trying to get up. He was accepting the bottom position a lot like Max Holloway was, and he was just trying to set up rubber guard and offensive attacks from his back where he should have just gotten up. Terrible performance from a veteran. Terrible performance from the young stud Raul Rosas Jr. who dealt no ground and pound, no submission attempts, 16 takedowns landed. Sure, that's impressive. 10 minutes of control. Sure, that's impressive. You land 5 strikes to the head that entire time. 5 strikes to the head with 10 minutes of control time. Be gone. Banished. That's the worst ranked fighter in the bantamweight division. I'm not impressed with Raul Rosas Jr. right now. I know he's only 21 years old. Maybe I will like him more later down the road, but that was a very terrible performance from both guys. Congratulations to Rosas. You got the win, I guess. But that's it. A win over a ranked guy, congratulations. But you're 17 years younger than him. Jesus, where was the urgency for a finish? We'll move on to the co-main event. Cal Borralho took on Reinier de Ridder, and the only fight I got right on the main card. And I was thinking about swapping this pick. How funny is that? Borralho did exactly what I thought he would. Control. I don't know how de Ridder landed 111 strikes. Oh, it's because they count these. I don't know. I didn't think that fight looks really close on paper. When I'm looking at it now, both guys having identical control time, landing the same strikes to the head pretty much, same strikes to the body. But it was a 30-27 win for Cal Borralho. He did exactly what he needed. He stayed out of trouble, stayed out of the clinch, avoided a lot of the knees from Reinier de Ridder, which he was showing a lot that fight, even in the middle of the octagon, marching up, showing knees. You didn't know if you were going to get a front kick or a big knee. But Borralho did very well. He kept his hands low, which I thought he needed to do. He was ready for de Ridder's takedown attempt in the first minute and a half, just pushed him off. You could see here he defended 6 of 8 of de Ridder's takedowns successfully. He landed the leg kick was really good, disrupting de Ridder's flow when he was trying to advance and kind of shoot for a takedown. But de Ridder, what I thought de Ridder needed to do to win this fight was avoid takedown attempts in the open, which he did not do. He did takedown attempts in the open. They're very easily to see. It's easy to see coming from a big guy like de Ridder. You got a level change. He's really tall and lengthy. It's very easy to see coming. He has a lot of body that's got a level change in a little bit amount of time for those takedowns to be successful. Easy to read. De Ridder should have worked the clinch more, which he did later at the end of the fight, but he should have worked the clinch more, body lock, try to trip Borralho down more, like Charles Oliveira did. That's exactly what de Ridder needed to do. Except Oliveira did shoot in the takedown, but he's smaller, he's faster, he's a better wrestler than de Ridder is. De Ridder's not a great wrestler. He's a great submission grappler. He's a great jiu-jitsu guy. He's not a great wrestler. And you need that wrestling to really get your jiu-jitsu games to start working for you, which was unsuccessful for him. So Borralho, big win for middleweight for Borralho. Everybody's favorite decision fighter, like I said in my prediction video. This was the only one I got right on the main card, and it went exactly how I thought it was going to go. Nothing too impressive, but it wasn't as boring as the main event, which was Max Holloway versus Charles do Bronx Oliveira. For the BMF belt, the baddest motherfucker. This is for the bad motherfucker belt. This is for the baddest motherfucker. Only guys that can get 20 minutes of control time should be able to wear this belt. I'm not going to take it away from Oliveira, though. He looked very impressive. breaking his record for the most control time he's ever had in a fight against Max Holloway of all people. That's hard to do. Now, I will say, Max, we'll start with Max. I mean, Max had no answers for Charles's takedowns. He had no answers for the grappling. Could not get up, could not fight the hands. Charles was busy. Anytime Charles got Oliveira down or took his back, or anytime Charles got Holloway down or took his back, that was the round. You knew that was the round. Every round. So the first 30 seconds of every round, we got a little striking, which was really fun. Both guys landing some shots. But Oliveira was successful in pretty much all of his takedowns. I know it says 5 for 13, but just think of it this way. There's 5 rounds in a fight. He landed 5 takedowns. That tells you what happened. I thought we were going to get more stand-up, especially even when I was watching the fight. I was still hopelessly hoping for more stand-up. I thought Oliveira, after round 3, he's like, okay, I took the first 3. I could afford to strike a little bit. And Oliveira was having a lot of success on the feet. So Max Holloway, I mean, this was probably the best outcome. If we're being honest, maybe Oliveira submission, would have been cooler. But honestly, this was probably the best outcome because if Max would have beat Charles, if there was more stand-up, I said in my predictions, the more that this fight was on the feet, the better chance Max Holloway had to win a decision. This fight was not on the feet at all. This fight was on the ground the entire time or against the cage, in which Oliveira was going to win that fight. That's what I said in my predictions. But I thought it would be on the feet more often. And that was, it was mainly up to Max Holloway to keep it on the feet. But also, I thought Charles Oliveira, for the BMF belt, he would try to strike with the BMF a little bit more. It kind of waters down the BMF belt a little bit, if you ask me. The reputation the UFC was trying to build with the BMF belt, if you're going to use a BMF belt, which isn't a real champion, and you're going to build a card around the belt, a numbered card, it's got to be a banger of a fight. And this was not a banger of a fight. It was a snooze fest. I don't want to take away from Oliveira, but it was a snooze fest. I wanted to see more ground and pound in the later rounds. Like, he wasn't trying to finish Oliveira with ground and pound. I wanted to see maybe go on the feet a little bit more. I wanted to see some more strikes. We wanted to see some BMF action. And, look, at the end of the day, Oliveira got the job done. He won every single round. It was a one-sided beatdown. He had the better moments on the feet and obviously on the ground. He was on the ground for 20 minutes controlling the action. I'm not going to take that away from Oliveira. It was a dominant performance, but it was not a BMF performance. All right, don't get it twisted. This was not a BMF performance. They want to be able to promote the BMF fight in the future by looking at UFC 300, by looking at the Dustin Poirier-Gaethje head kick. That was for the BMF belt. By looking at the retirement fight in New Orleans. That was a fun fight, even though it went the distance. So a lot of stand-up. Both guys had some moments. This fight is going to be a hard one to promote. It's going to be a hard one to promote the next BMF belt, showing clips of the Holloway-Oliveira fight. And I'll leave it at that. I'm going to have a prediction video for the UFC White House card, the Freedom 250, uploaded right after this one. So please check that one out. I'll add a link to it once it's uploaded. Please leave me a thumbs up, drop a comment. Let me know what you thought of the card. Did you like the card? Did you not like the card? What was your favorite fight? What was your least favorite fight? I'm curious to hear, so let me know below in the comments. But thank you so much for watching. I'll have UFC 326 cheap shots uploaded in the next couple days, so keep an eye out for that. But UFC Freedom 250, the White House card, I'm going to react to that first, and then I'll have my UFC cheap shots video uploaded. But thank you so much for watching. Please leave me a thumbs up if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here for more UFC content, and I will see you in the next video.